Okay, so it is Monday morning, and this is a Monday morning tap and intention setting for the week. How to get our mindset where we want it to be. And I always have these planned and the theme and the intention. And so all that goes out the window today. So last night, I had a nice evening out with my three daughters. We went to see Bryan Adams. I think we've seen him almost every single time he comes, and we had a wonderful time. But in the midst of that, I get a message from my sister, and my mother has been put in the hospital. So after Bryan Adams, we went right to the hospital. So I am still in clothes. We just got home just a little while ago. I have not slept at all. So, toss it around. The reason we came home is just because one of my daughters, had to be there for when her son got up. So, um, otherwise we'd probably still be there, and I would have contacted one of you to kind of get things going. But I'm here, and so I thought, you know what? I'm gonna come on. So mom's okay right now. Around 3:30, we took her off the oxygen that was keeping her alive, and she's still breathing. And one of my sisters, is still with her, and she's very much at peace besides the breathing. And we've all said our goodbyes. We'll go back later today if she is still alive. But what I wanted this to go into for today is death, and how, if we can look at it differently, can be one of our greatest teachers. So instead of looking at death as being a morbid thought or as something very scary, if we were to look at it as our greatest teacher, and seeing my mom lie there, there's nothing that shows us more that we're so much more than, the body that we're living in. She came from a very healthy body, and she's, withering away, but she's so much more than that. She's not that, right? And I can tell you we're a soul having a human experience, but until you have that experience of passing away, until I have that experience, we can't even really experience that. Right? I can tell you to take a look at the stories in your life that aren't working for you and start to change your thoughts around it. But until that moment of death, you won't realize how insignificant those thoughts and those dramas and those worries that we have in this life really are. And so, what I'd like for us in each of these days this week is to ask yourself how you would live your life, how you would live this day differently if you knew that it was your last. How would you prioritize your day, your life? Maybe you had a week, maybe you had a month. How would your relationships change? How would your thoughts change in your mind? Just our perspective, if we knew. And I remember, I believe it's The Untethered Soul of Michael Singer, and he talks about the angel of death coming and telling you it's your time to go, and you say, no, I have just one more day or one more week. And the angel of death says, I've given you 365 days just this year alone. What have you done with that time? And you want just one more day? And so it just puts everything into perspective because my mom has lived an amazing life. She's an amazing woman. She's had a good life. She has a lot to be grateful for. But none of us are promised tomorrow. None of us are promised. You don't have to get old. You don't have to have a disease. You don't have to have, fair warning. We all are living this life. And last week it was about the unaware ego. And if there's nothing that brings more awareness to the unaware ego, it's the fear of death, or it's the threat of death, or you know what? It's not the fear of death, because an unaware ego is very afraid of death. It's the moment of death when you really realize again the insignificance of all the worries and stresses. So this week's intention: live each day as though we know it's our last day or our last week, or at the most we have a month to live. Right? Would you bother with all those little annoyances or those little frustrations? What about those things that worry you the most? All of those things that capture our ego and spins in a tale of our drama and our stories. Right? How would we live this day differently? And if nothing else, what death comes to ask us is, what am I doing with my life? Or what am I doing with this day? Or what am I doing with this moment? Because it could be our last, right? This is the life that we have to live. This is that body that we get to live it in. The people in our lives are the experiences that we get to experience. And again, it's not until that moment of death that we realize that politics really has nothing to do with life, or the color of our skin, or that argument that we had, or the fact that you're late for an appointment, or people are cutting you off in traffic. All these parts of our lives that we get so drawn into, and that unaware ego. This week, it's going to look at life differently. And we're going to ask ourselves, what am I going to do with this day? This gift of this day, of this moment, of this hour, of this person, and begin to live your life from this space. Yeah. So I wasn't even sure if I was going to do a tap in, like the movement, but now as I speak of this, I'm like, why not? I mean, that's what this is all about, is tuning in and moving our body. So let's do this. Let's tap it in. I need a good little wake up. This is the perfect thing for me to do. So let's just do that. Let's just bounce. Let's just start with the bounce. Feel your body. Feel your body. What does it feel like? Whether it feels wonderful, whether it doesn't feel wonderful, move it. Be grateful that you've got movement, and you've got breath, and you've got thoughts, and you've got a life, and you've got a day that you get to go and live today. Shake it out. Just shake out, and let's wake up that unaware ego and say, this is our last day. This is our last week. This may be our last month. How are we going to live this day just a little bit different? Okay, and then just march it out. So we're not looking at death as something that is morbid or something to be afraid of. We're looking at it as our greatest teacher. Let's touch into that opposite leg. Feel our body, feel our breath. Come alive. We are alive. How does your perspective change when you're thinking you've got maybe some relationships that need to be mended, or some silly disagreement that changes everything if you think you only have this day to live it? Shake it out. Let's rub our hands together. Big breath. And let's tap in underneath our eyes. What about those stories we tell ourselves, those worries that keep us caught up in the stories and the dramas and the whatever it is that's going on? And I mean, there can be some big things going on in your life, but this is where we draw into acceptance and gratitude and appreciation. Tap in underneath or at the collarbone. Big breath, get your energy moving in the right direction. Yeah, new perspective today. How am I going to live it from this opportunity of this greatest teacher? How can I live this day to the fullest? What things do I maybe need to undo or look at differently? What things in my life do I need to start accepting about myself? How are my thoughts going to change? Tap in. I'm always going to say it. Gratitude. What are we grateful for? Who are we grateful for? What about ourselves are we grateful for? Let's tap in and create a whole new perspective. Yeah, not just for the moment, for the day, but from looking at it, that this is the life that we have to live, and who knows how much longer we have. Tap underneath. Tell the people in your life that you love them, that you appreciate them. Accept yourself and others just as they are. And start to take a look at your thoughts and go, do I want to finish my last day or my last week or my month having these kind of thoughts all day long? And then change them. Bring in that full-on awareness that we've been focusing on for the last couple of months, and go, where in my life can I start to live my best life? How can I think differently? What little changes can I make here or there? And this is what the intention is all about. Shake it out and just cross it over, cross it in and shake it out. And just from a whole new perspective, every single day this week, open your eyes and just say, this could be my last day on this earth. How am I going to live it? How am I going to shift and change these thoughts in my mind, these stories that I tell myself? How am I going to appreciate this world, this life, myself, and other people? How am I going to accept them? Take this lesson that death has to teach each and every one of us and bring it into your heart center, bring it into your day, bring it into your intention, and tell yourself, I'm going to live my life differently starting today by doing what, right? Fill in the blank. What is important to you, okay? So have yourself an amazing day, a wonderful week, just looking at things differently, not from a space of fear, but from a space of love and acceptance and from gratitude. Okay? Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Namaste.